March 2nd, 2023. Pat, would you lead us in the pledge of allegiance?
Sure will. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, and justice for all.
I apologize for being late.
That's all right.
I was in Orange County.
You just barely.
Yeah,
we can only wait so long.
I understand.
Yeah, 2 seconds was too much.
Denise, roll call. David Drake. Here. Dan Crawford.
Here.
Don Calvert.
Here.
Steve Hale. Here. Sandra Hash.
Here.
Pamela Samples.
Here.
Pat Wesolowski.
Here.
Okay, next item on the agenda is approval of minutes for February 2nd, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, motion carries. Next on the agenda is the comprehensive plan update. Denise?
All I know is that they've started to work on their draft. All their presentations to the Plan Commission are finished until they get their draft ready.
Okay. And is there someone here from?
No.
Okay.
Unless Dan knows something,
Okay.
no.
I just didn't know who all the people were. Maybe one of them.
The Taylor Group is working on the draft,
Yes.
and I don't know when they're going to.
Who's the guy with Dan?
Okay.
Just so everybody knows, the gentleman by Dan Rary's Clark Griner, he's with the Bloomington Economic Development
Okay,
Commission.
all right, that makes sense. I saw little things back there, and then I saw him, so I thought maybe that was him. We have no old business, we have no new business. We have planning department update on the agenda next.
Hey
Okay,
Denise, were we zooming this meeting?
the computer is zooming, we
Okay.
have an issue, something, signal's not getting to somewhere for the.
I was just
TVs.
curious. Thank
Yeah,
you.
Russ is the only person.
Kevin,
Okay.
Kevin Patton is ordering some parts.
Okay. Sorry, I just seen the TVs were off and I just wanted to make
Okay.
sure we,
So I was looking at the code, I was actually looking for something under the Board of Zoning Appeals in our town code. And I came to 152.313 titled Officers, Meetings, and Procedures for the Plan Commission. And it says monthly meetings will be held pending the filing of new zoning petitions. So I really don't know what to do at this point. Since I know for other provisions, I have to go by town code. And we, at this time, aren't having any new zoning petitions. My deadline for April is next Friday, I think. And like I told Dan, I had 2 cases, and when they found out they had to go to, before the Plan Commission, they said they'd do something else, so.
So you're saying the code says there has to be monthly meetings of the BZA?
No, I was looking for something for the BZA,
Of the
And-
Plan Commission?
and I came across the
Okay.
code for the Plan Commission. And I'll repeat it, it says monthly meetings will be held pending the filing of new zoning petitions, and it's 152.313.
I'm not really sure what pending new filings means.
yeah,
A petition that's ready to be heard. So if you want to change your rules, I can change the ordinance and have it ready for approval.
so basically you're saying if there's no one filing, then we're not gonna have a planning commission meeting, is that?
That's the way the code reads.
The ordinance assumes you won't have a meeting if there's no petition for you to make a ruling on or make a decision on.
Okay, I think we should need to change it then. I mean, that's my opinion, because there could be something come up, like happened to us earlier this, where someone wanted to get on the agenda at the last minute, or not even just a filing, but there could be something else going on, so. My opinion is we still need to have the meetings.
Okay, do you want to give yourselves any leeway, like, if there's no petition, the president has the authority to call off a meeting, or do you just want to say monthly meeting, period?
I think we should build some leeway in there. I mean,
Yeah.
if there's a blizzard or something.
Well, sure, but I mean, otherwise, if there's no anticipated guests and no presentations and no petitions, do you want to give the president the authority to call off the meeting, or
I would think so.
does that make sense to everybody else?
Yeah.
Or do you still want to have a meeting once a month?
Well, I think if we go that way, I think we ought to have in there something, if the president's going to call off the meeting, we should have some time where he can't call it off on a
Meetings.
3 days before. You know, we should have some type of
Yeah.
a schedule where if it's a week before the meeting,
Well, the posting requirement's 48 hours. I think it'd be hard to change anything. And 48 hours notice of a canceled meeting should be sufficient, because that's how much.
yeah, I just think there should be something where, in this case, David's the president, he don't, at 5:45 on a first Thursday of the month, says, hey, we're not gonna have a meeting. And David would do that too.
I wanted to talk just a little bit after I don't want you to adjourn the meeting till we get talking.
Okay.
About this or something else?
Something else.
Oh. Well, like I said, I think that's always been in the code, but I think there's other provisions in there to where we could still have a meeting. I don't think it's yes or no. I mean, have you read everything, Darla? Just because someone hasn't filed? I mean, I know we've had planning commission meetings in the past when there was nothing on the agenda.
Well, you have the power to make your own rules. I know a lot of boards don't meet if they don't have a petition before them, but it's what, you know, you have the power to determine your own rules. So I think all Denise was saying is if you want to have a policy of every meeting, every month, every meeting, your rules should reflect that.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, I just can't believe that we have to change that now because, like I said, I've been on this commission 20-some years and we've had meetings without anything filed before. So I just think that's weird. No one's ever brought that up before.
Probably
Has that-
nobody noticed it. I was looking for something
Right.
specific.
You can look up that code and it'll tell you when that was revised. It may be that that's been done under Kevin Talati. Maybe he
Yeah,
changed that.
that's what I
have-
was thinking
I have
too.
no idea.
It was passed in 2003, so whoever was here.
Oh,
then-
that's been a long time.
Yeah.
Well, it's not really that.
Well,
That was a couple of planning directors ago.
yeah.
Okay, so is everybody in agreement that we should, if we need to, change the rule that says we will have monthly meetings unless the president 48 hours prior to the meeting cancels it?
What's the latest you can call it off? I mean, not like the night before, or the week before, or 3 days before? or-
Well, if it's an emergency, like someone mentioned, if there's a blizzard or something, I think you could call it off whenever it's reasonable to do so. But like Pat said, you know, it's probably good to set a limit, a time limit,
Yeah.
otherwise, for non-emergency situations, just so.
Well, and I would think, I mean, we might as well make things the same. If other requirements are 48 hours, then we might as well make that requirement 48 hours.
How it always worked before when there's no new business, I'd call whoever the president was at the time when I was ready to prepare the agenda and say, there's no new business, do you want to have a meeting or not? And they would advise accordingly.
Can we just tell some people there isn't going to be a meeting and then go ahead and have it anyway?
That might get us into trouble.
I'd still show up, David.
Okay, so did you have anything else, Denise?
So you want Darla to prepare an amendment to the ordinance for your
Okay.
next meeting?
I think
Yeah.
that's what we're saying, yes.
Okay.
But I said if we need to, there may be some other provision in there
See, that's what I
that
think
nullifies
too.
that, but, I mean, it wouldn't hurt to make it more understandable anyway, even if there is another, try to reconcile the two things, if there is another one in there.
Yeah, she will make sure of that. And the only other thing I had to say is the next meeting's April 6th.
Are you gonna find us something to do by then, you think?
Well, you're gonna have this.
Yep,
Yeah.
your
okay.
ordinance
All right.
amendment.
Good. So, one other thing that we kind of forgot to do, we've talked about him before, but I would like to introduce Steve Hale, the newest member of the Plan Commission. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, privilege of the floor. Is anyone in the audience that wants to address us on something that wasn't on our agenda? Seeing none, Plan Commission comments.
Well, I'm just sort of disappointed to read that one presentation we had from Taylor is the final presentation. And I know that if you have read all of the old comprehensive plan and compared it to the new Envision Ellettsville plan, I commend you, because I have not had that, I have not gotten that done. But I feel like that alone is enough for us to talk about for a few meetings. We may not have any input in it, but we should at least understand that new Envision plan, if that's going to replace our comp plan.
Do you want me to have them come back? Has anybody read it or compared the two?
Skimmed through it.
Yeah.
I didn't try to actually
Compare the two.
understand
yeah.
everything.
Do you want me to have them come back to the next meeting?
Well, maybe we just need to have a little work session amongst ourselves and, just to look at the differences.
Well, they will present a draft when it's ready, and then I think that will, of course, you're going to have time to read it and bring up further discussion about, at that time, unless you want to have a work session to prepare yourselves for when it does become, the draft does become ready, and
Well,
so
do you
can-
think it's going to be called the Envision Ellettsville plan for our comp plan? Because there's, a lot in the beginning of it is how they, worked with the community and did all the little sessions and had people put the posties up, and there are 5 or 6 categories that they worked from. And I'd say the first half or third of the book is just that.
Oh, I would hope they would remove that.
I would hope so too, because once that's accomplished, then that doesn't need to be in our comp plan.
Correct.
Well, I think that would be up to us too, wouldn't it? I mean, when we
I
approved
don't
it, we
know.
would say that this portion of it is our comprehensive plan.
I just feel like so much of it has not been up to us.
Yeah,
Denise, I'd like to have a paper copy on that instead of on the,
I'm sorry, what?
I'd like to have it on paper,
The
Comp-
what?
the comp,
The old comp plan?
yes, and the new.
I thought I emailed that to everyone.
Yeah, but I don't have a printer to print it off, okay?
Okay.
And I'd like to have it where I could go page such and such to such and such. And if I could have the new one then too, the same way.
Oh, I don't know
Yeah, we
how I
don't-
would print that one.
And the other thing that bothers me is the very first meeting that we had with the Envision Ellettsville people, there was a gentleman sitting there at the first table that was going to give us updates on what they were doing. I have gotten one update, and that was it.
That was Kyle Hannondan that said he'd give them updates. Yeah.
I kind of think, I understand how Sandy and Pat feel, because I know when we did the comprehensive plan before, it took several meetings just to change a fraction of the comprehensive plan. So I'm like Sandy, I'm a little shocked that they're doing the whole thing here and we're just getting one go at it. You know, it's,
Well, if they're gonna do a draft, I assume we'll get a second go at it.
Yes.
I think you'll get several goes at it. I think the purpose in hiring them was to have a professional go through the code and come up with some things that may not be obvious to the rest of us. So I don't think that takes away your ability to look it over. I think it's still gonna take several, well, you can take as long as you want, really, because it's not gonna go before the council until you guys approve it, the plan commission approves it, so.
Well, all I
take
can.
us-
oh,
Your
sorry.
microphone's not on, Darla.
You can take as long as you want, I think, or as long as you're comfortable with, until you're happy with it.
well, and
That's good to know.
yeah, I mean, it's just the fact that seems like it's being done outside of us, and then it's gonna be presented to us instead of us helping.
Okay, so what would make you more comfortable? Do you want to meet with Kyle? Do you wanna, like,
Probably, yeah, like break
have
it
him
up a
come
little
every
bit.
meeting, or do you want,
Well,
like,
when he has new things, or tell us what he's doing, and, you know, then we can direct him on which way to go with it. Something like that, because it is our name on it.
Well,
Can I say something?
Hey, Dan, do you mind coming to the microphone?
Well, while he's coming up, I was just gonna say one thing. I mean, I don't feel like anyone has attempted to deny us the opportunity to be involved, because I emails that invite us to be involved, I just don't have time to do it. But, I mean, so I don't think there's an intent to not involve the plan commission.
Well, we've had several task force meetings now. We've had 2 days, and we had meetings 3 each day. And I attended 5 of the 6. And they're still trying to take input, but at this point, I just don't know how the input is going to be received, if it is.
The Envision Ellettsville Board of Directors and the whole Envision Ellettsville thing, we chose to use Taylor Swift Group. And we really don't have any, Envision Ellettsville doesn't have any input into this comprehensive plan update. That's between Taylor Group, what did I say, Taylor Swift? That's not.
Yeah, that's what we were snickering about.
Hope we're not being recorded.
We are.
I'm off track here. And the town has hired them, the Taylor Group, to help with this comprehensive plan update. And that's outside of the purview of Envision Ellettsville. In other words, Envision Ellettsville isn't doing that. We just happen to be using the same people, because I think the reason the town decided that was because, I don't know how much Envision Ellettsville's paid them, $50,000 or something, to do all these surveys and do all the work, all the legwork, and have all these meetings. And they thought that using the Taylor Group made sense, because they had already done all this work for Envision Ellettsville, and a lot of that work would overlap. But as far as I know, Envision Ellettsville is not having anything to do with the update of the plan.
So what I think I hear you saying is that you would like to get with the Taylor Group
Thank you, Dan.
before they present a draft to the Plan Commission. You want more involvement in the pre-drafting stage before they bring a draft to you. Do I understand that?
Yeah, I mean, that's how I feel.
Okay,
I think when they have these task groups with the public and everything, you know, right after that, they should come to our next planning commission meeting and inform us what happened. I understand we could go to the meeting ourselves too, but like David said, some of us are busy and we can't make it, where we've always got this meeting scheduled, so.
okay.
You know, if they could take 30 minutes or something out of our planning commission to present something to us, or let us know what direction they're going or something, I think that would probably satisfy me. I mean,
I know the way we've dealt with them, it's not been heavy-handed at all. They've not said, okay, here it is, this is what we're doing. I think what they're gonna do is make recommendations, and it's not gonna be my way or the highway, I mean, by any means. It's not been that way with us.
Well, I feel this way about it, that that's why I wanted a hard copy of the old one. If I remember right, when Kevin was here and a couple other ones before them, when they changed something, if it was number 104 on our plan, on our comprehensive plan, they would come up and they would tell us, we're thinking about changing such and such number and how to change it. And we, as the planning commission, had a discussion, unless I'm wrong, people, of we agreed or disagreed to it. And now, the way it feels, we don't know what's going on.
I agree with you 100%. I don't, but I think that that's a misconception, unless I'm totally wrong. Now, I could be totally wrong. I've been totally wrong before. But I don't think that they're trying to be heavy-handed about this at all.
Oh, I'm not saying they're trying to be heavy-handed.
I mean, they're
but-
gonna make recommendations, and I think you will have a chance to look it all over.
Well, what about this idea? What if before a task force meeting, less than a quorum of the plan commission meets with the Taylor group to look over things or to ask questions? And it can be 3 different plan commission members every meeting, so at least you feel as if you're getting some input while they're drafting it and not looking at a huge document or policy statement.
Right, because throwing that on us at once, it's just overwhelming. And you're only human. You may start with the first 10 pages, but then you just start getting blurry and whatever, what's going on here. Highlight what you changed and let me just read that part. So I think breaking it down like that would help me quite a bit. And the question I got asked Denise, they are contacting you, correct? Have they been in touch
About
with you
what?
at all? About the comprehensive plan or?
All I know is that was their last presentation to the Plan Commission to explain things they were looking at in the comp plan and the land use map, and then they were ready to start preparing a draft of it.
So, yeah, I understood the land use map. And then the only other thing I can remember was how she showed on there the estates and the regular lots, and then the no-line lots, and the duplexes, and the small apartments, and the really large apartments. And then I remember her saying that when a developer comes in, we are to encourage them to do mixed use. And we didn't say that's what we wanted. I said that's not what I wanted, but I was the only one. I mean, we didn't vote on anything, so I just don't know how they come and make a presentation and say this, this, and this, and then
Yeah, because.
they're ready to do a draft. I mean, it was
Well,
so.
how it was explained to me in the onset was they're going to take the Envision Ellettsville plan and add the maps and adapt it to to be a comp plan. So I think that's why it may not be a long process for them.
Well, what's your pleasure on how to get your input? Do you want to have small groups meet with Kyle Hannon from time to time? Do you want them to come to the Plan Commission meeting every month and give you an update? Do you want them to give you a draft every so often so you can see where they're headed, or how do you want to handle this?
I'm not sure Kyle's the one to talk to.
Or do you want me to just call
He
Denise
had
and I?
said in the first meeting he would update them, and he's never updated either by attending or by an email. He would keep that Plan Commission updated. Because I haven't received emails from him
Well, I think
with
on what he's
updates.
updating on is the Envision plan, not the other.
That's correct, the
Oh.
vision plan. And see what,
Sorry, my bad.
unless I'm missing something here, myself, I feel that the Vision of Ellettsville and the Taylor Group, they're working together, and then they're gonna bring that plan to us. And what I'm hearing tonight is that, as you just stated a little bit ago, Dan, that that's not what's happening. They're not working together. But then I hear Denise say that we're supposed to have an update. She's thinking, in my mind, the same way I'm thinking, is that they're both working together, and why don't we have an update? But now you're saying they're not working together. So does one hand know what the other hand's doing? I don't know.
Who's they? Who's not working together?
The Taylor Group and the Vision of Ellettsville Group are saying they're not, as Dan said, they're not working together for the comprehensive plan. Am I right?
What I'm saying is that we've got the Taylor Group, and they're working with Envision Ellettsville. And they've been working with us for a long time, for a year or so, I don't know, 2 years. Seems like 5 years. But then they're also independent of us, independent of Envision Ellettsville. They're working with the town. And that's a separate contract, excuse me, separate, they signed a memorandum of understanding. And I don't blame anybody sitting up there on wanting to see what's happening. I mean, yeah.
Because
And maybe.
they'll be gone, and we'll still be here.
Well,
I
and
guess,
maybe.
Dan, who are they working with? Does anybody know who they're working with the town? Are they working with you, Denise?
Yes, but not while they're drafting it. I imagine when they're finished, they'll let me know, so they'll be ready to present it. But you will have, as Darla said, several opportunities to work on it, review it. You can even have some work sessions if that's what you desire.
See, and a draft is a draft. I mean, a draft is a suggestion. And it's not like, I think maybe what you need to do is get with the town and find out how they want to work with the Plan Commission.
Dan, when you're saying the town, who are you speaking about?
The town council.
They're not saying anything to us. I mean, just what they've said to the planning commissioners. We agreed for their contract, and that's basically all we've done, so.
Well, I think what they're going to do is, and this is, I may be all wrong, but I think what they're going to do is they're going to have a draft, which is a suggestion. These are our suggestions. And then the town council, the planning commission, gets to decide whether they like it or not. I mean, they may come in here with a draft that says that you need to try to get the Colts to move down here, you know? And you'd all go, wait a minute, what are you talking about? We're not gonna do that. And I think that it's, and I don't blame you for wanting, what I like to see when I'm doing something is, here's what I had, and here's what's changed. And what's changed is in red letters, okay? And when we have changes in our state forms, for instance, they have lines drawn through what they've taken out and then replaced it with, and they've got that in red, so we can see it. And I don't know if that's how they work, but that's what I would, something along those lines is what I'd be requesting.
And when I used to negotiate unions with the company, that's exactly how we did it. We had paragraph A or B or whatever, and we had it here, and the new, what they wanted over here. And you could see and compare. As it is now, all we're hearing, but we're not comparing.
And I don't think anybody's put them in charge of doing this. I mean,
Doing
having
what?
saying, here's what we're gonna do. That's gonna be a draft and it's gonna be a suggestion, right?
Yes, you'll have several opportunities.
And
And
the
then
town's
when-
gonna decide. I mean, you folks, the town council, you're gonna vote on this. It's not gonna be something that you have to do.
And that's what Darla explained to us. As long as we have enough time when we get the draft and we can break it down piece by piece and everybody here is satisfied with it, then it shouldn't be a problem. But whenever I just read in the minutes, that they'd made their final presentation on the revisions, it's like, what? How can that be? Because we met with them once.
So if Denise and I were to have a conference call with Kyle Hannon, for example, what would you want me to tell him about how to do things differently?
Well, I think for me, I would like to be more involved and step by step and not just wait till the end and say, here's your draft, look at it, what do you think? Well, how did you come up with this? Because so-and-so town in California does it this way. Is that how you're coming up with all this? I would like to see step by step what's going on and how it's progressing and why they're making these changes and.
Well, what I talked about last time I was here was, they did all these surveys that they sent out, and they're basing a lot of this on what the public
Yeah, and
wishes.
I came to one of those meetings and it was quite the show. The public was very upset and screaming and,
Well, there was only one,
and that's unfortunate for me because that was probably the only one that I attended, but,
there was only one party that was really upset.
well,
and-
there were several spoke out. I
Well,
mean,
but they were all together.
Yeah,
Okay, they were all together. And that was a misunderstanding, and I didn't blame them at all. They misunderstood. Maybe they misunderstood because it wasn't explained properly to them.
but my point on that was, it was kind of a waste because we got stuck on that one issue, that one piece of property, and it just didn't go anywhere.
And
So-
it did go where they wanted it to go.
Yeah, for
They took it
that
out, they took it off the
particular
map.
piece, but,
Yeah, they took it off the map.
You know,
But, no, I don't blame you for wanting to know what's going on here.
My thought is that, I think Denise should be aware before we're aware of what's going on. As planning director, I think it'd behoove us as the planning commission to have the head of us, which is Denise, look at the, draft, prior. No doubt she's got more knowledge than we have, per se.
I don't know about that.
Well, you can have a hard copy on one side and have the other copy on the other. But I think it'd behoove us if the Taylor Group would contact Denise more often than just the first meeting, like she said, and she hadn't heard since.
yeah, that's disturbing with me. I thought you were in constant contact with them, so.
They probably told me since they're starting their draft that just meant they'd be working on it and get back to me when they're ready.
I think they've communicated quite a bit with Mike Farmer, the town manager. I think he's had some meetings with them to go over invoices and, individual things like that, more than anyone else.
How about this? I may be overstepping what I'm supposed to do here, but I'm going to call Kyle. I'm going to call Haley Rourke. She's the lady that makes the presentations. And I'm going to call Ron Taylor. And I'm going to explain what has taken place here tonight.
Well, should you do that, or should Darla do that?
He's worked with all of them longer than.
He's on the Envision Ellettsville board.
I'm on the Division Ellettsville Board, and I don't have any authority with them, but just as a, what would I call this? A friendly, a what?
A liaison.
Yeah.
You're the liaison.
Yeah, well, but as a friendly suggestion that here's what you probably ought to do. Okay?
And maybe we could get the draft and, if they aren't gonna, I would assume they're gonna work on it in sections. And maybe when they got a piece done, then they could send it down and we could get started on it rather than waiting for a complete draft. But then maybe the complete draft will be quick, I don't know.
Let me ask a question. I've never really read the whole thing. Never went to Evelyn Wood speed reading, and how many pages is the planning and zoning now?
The planning and zoning or the envision,
Or
the
the
comp
The
plan?
comp plan.
The comprehensive plan and all of the zoning, all the definitions, everything. How many
Well, I
pages?
don't know how many pages, but it's like about that thick, and the Envision Ellettsville book is like that thick.
Okay.
Several pages.
I mean, it's like 100 pages long or 500 pages long?
Probably comp plans, maybe 100 or so, the existing one, and then the new one, I'd say probably a couple hundred, as thick as it is.
Okay.
Do you have any extra copies of the Envision Ellettsville plan that can be borrowed?
That book that they have, that
Yeah, the
hardback
bound
book,
book. I have one here
Okay.
at Town Hall.
I don't even have one. No, they didn't have very many of those, but
Do you have one, Denise?
I've got one that I borrowed, I can bring it back to you, and you can circulate it.
I
think
can
have one,
see-
too.
If they can send me a thumb drive or something, so I can just print sets or get them printed. So you can write on them or
It's on the
whatever.
website. Can we print it off the website?
I'll have to look.
But it would be nice for everybody on the Plan Commission to have a hard copy, so they've got something, and a hard copy of our old comp plan. It's gonna be expensive to print it all, but it probably be well worth it.
We're spending 50,000, we ought to spend another 5.
I'll just take it out of that general admin budget.
does anybody else have any questions for me?
Well, I just want to say, Dan, we're not attacking you, or at least I'm not attacking you by no means. I think
Oh, I understand that.
we're just kind of voicing our frustrations, and unfortunately, you're here and you're helping speak for them, so you're the liaison, I guess, is what Darla called you, so please don't feel that we're
No, I don't, not at all.
attacking you by
Not at all.
any means.
And I understand your frustration, and I understand what you want to do. You want to see what's going on?
I mean, 50,
Everybody does.
whatever we paid, that's a lot of money to have this done, to,
I don't know what the town paid. That's what the
Yeah,
Envision
I'm not
Ellettsville
sure.
project paid.
I'm
Well,
sure.
altogether, there's quite a few different agreements, but it's right at $400,000.
wow. Then, yeah, we want them here every meeting. 400,000.
Well, I'll be glad to let you know what I find out after I talk to them.
Okay.
And maybe have them pick us up and bring us pizzas.
Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. We usually have to pay their expenses.
Their expenses are your expenses.
Exactly.
Give me an independent.
We have to pay mileage every time they come, and sometimes we have to pay for their meals,
Thank you. Well,
but that's part of the agreement.
you know, I'm Zoom. I mean, if they come in on our TV, I don't care. I mean,
Not for a little bit, we have some issues.
yeah,
so.
right, but
Yeah.
instead of paying the cost to put them up and driving and all that, why couldn't they just Zoom in at our meeting or something?
So the way I take it, just so I'm clear, you want involved in the drafting process, you want copies of it, so you can start reviewing it, of Envision Ellettsville plan, and so you have something to write on. Dan's going to contact Kyle Haley and Ron Taylor.
I'll contact, Ron's the boss, so I'll
Okay.
contact him and Kyle.
And Pat wants, and also an old comp plan, so I'll just go ahead and make copies of both for everybody, so.
Pat, you don't read on a Kindle, do you?
I don't read. Make pictures, put pictures in.
I don't read on one either.
No.
I don't take the newspaper online. I have to have it in my hand. So, I understand.
So Darla, I mean, do you have any more input, or what's your suggestion here? I mean, what do you feel?
Well, it's whatever you want that's going to make you comfortable. So, as Dan said, he'll speak to Mr. Taylor, but I think it's a good idea if we could give him specific ideas to what you want and how often you want it, whether it's somebody here, someone to bring you drafts occasionally. Do you want a meeting before they, you know, my problem is, you know, when I'm drafting something, there's a certain point, I'm not ready to give it to somebody until it kind of reaches a certain point, and I don't know how they're working on it. So, I don't know how practical that's gonna be for them, but if you wanna have like work sessions, or like I said, have 3 of you meet with the Taylor group before or after their, you know, focus groups, because I think Mr. Taylor's gonna say, what can we do for you? So if you could tell us specifically what it is that you want so that you're more involved, I mean, whatever that is, it's.
Why don't I ask him You know, what is planned, how do you plan to present this? Are you gonna present it in, and I know.
In
you know,
pieces
Denise
or-
is working on this, but she's in the dark as I am, because they're working on it, and they haven't, you know, given us anything yet,
Yeah.
until they do. But the thing I keep falling back on is that they could give us 1,000 pages and you folks could say, no, this isn't what we're looking for. So, it's a draft.
Will
Yeah.
the task force information be incorporated how? Do you know?
These task forces, the ones we're working on now are business, connectivity, and gathering. And those don't have really anything to do with the
comp.
plan. Those, we're working on the stuff that the citizens gave us in these surveys, saying what they're interested in. And they've got all these, you know, poster boards that they've left here. And those are ideas, but I guess until you folks and the town council would rezone something, and I don't think it's anything about rezoning, it's just, that's their idea of where things ought to go.
Well, the
And
task,
if they don't go there, then that's okay.
The way,
the task force almost seems like an extension of the surveys. Because honestly, that's, the ones I've been in, they just continue to ask
I
us,
think that's a fair statement.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, whoever mentioned, you know, bringing us pieces as they complete it, I mean, I like that idea. I mean, I really don't want it thrown all at once at her. That's my opinion.
Okay,
Because that's overwhelming to me, and I'm getting old, I'll forget what I read, because I'll take a week away from it, and so.
okay, we can talk to them about that. I like Dan's idea of just contacting Mr. Taylor and saying, what's your plan for presenting this? And then why don't we let him do that, and then he can get back to you at the next meeting and say, here's the plan, maybe Mr. Taylor will come, but, and then you can decide if you're happy with the Taylor Group's plan for presenting it to you.
If you don't mind, I kind of would like you involved in
Okay.
it, because we're not paying Dan. So
Well,
I understand
He-
he's doing
He
that,
offered,
but,
I'm happy to do it.
okay.
And I'll ask him how practical it is to get drafts to you, because like I said, when I'm drafting something, sometimes I'll get halfway through it and I hate it and I start over. So I don't
Right.
know, you know, where they're at in the process. But I can ask.
Yeah, and
what-
it's nothing against you, Dan, it's just, I don't want you put on the spot in, you know. I'd rather have, since the town is paying for this, I'd rather have the town contact them. I mean, if you both want a conference call, that's fine too.
How about if I sit
But-
down with Mike Farmer and say?
Yeah, and I
There's-
guess if Mike's been involved in this, then
He is.
he's the one that needs to be coming to these meetings too, so. And let us know, because if he's not working with Denise, that's upsetting too, so.
You know,
I think what I'm hearing here is, and I don't know where that came from exactly, but when somebody said the final, something about a final,
Final presentation is what it says in the minutes, that Haley, York, Taylor, Seifer, Williams gave the final presentation on revisions to the comprehensive plan. The Plan Commission members were encouraged to share any thoughts on her with email, and the next step in the process will be to begin the draft of the revisions to the comprehensive plan. So.
maybe that's the way I worded it, but it was their last presentation to you before, because the meetings they had come to, they had asked for your input of what you'd like to see about the land use map, and so this was the last one to explain density and go over it, and then you were to get with her with any ideas. So maybe final was a bad word, but it was the last one for them to come down and present something, as they're going to be working on the draft now. And then they'll present
I
the
don't think there's
draft.
anything final about anything.
I can't remember the conversation.
It was, maybe I should have said their last presentation, but
Well, final has that ring of, well, here, the next thing you're gonna get is we're gonna flop it down
You know, I think the town would be concerned, and I didn't know what the total, roughly the total dollar is, $400,000 for one or two presentations here? I
Well,
mean,
that encompasses numerous different contracts. I just gave you a total. I mean, one of them is with the Next Level Trail Grant. That's a big chunk of it. I mean, it's broken up into 6 different agreements, so.
There's the Stewart Park renderings.
well, do we
there's
know
a-
how much is the comprehensive plan costing us?
It's about 60, isn't it, Denise?
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
I had 60 in my
Maybe
head.
60,000, you would think that we'd have more information than sitting here at the last minute discussing it. I mean, I'm sorry, you can't, how can you run a business this way?
I don't think.
You'd be out of business.
I don't think it is less than that. I think there's plenty of time.
Well, and I brought this up before, but, and not to be particularly critical of our 2 council members on the commission, but I think the majority of these issues go back to the very beginning, when this first started, and a contract was let, but we weren't really involved in what was gonna happen, and Taylor Group is probably just doing what it was they were set out to do in the initial agreement. So, I mean, as we've said before, we probably should have been more involved in the very beginning to set all these issues out, instead of just the council kind of signing this agreement, and we didn't even know about it at the time.
Well, we got off on the wrong foot because when Kevin was getting ready to leave, he made requests for proposals. And those requests for proposals went out, and we got a couple of responses. But we were not allowed to be involved in that situation at all. We were overridden because Seifers already had, Taylor Group already had all this knowledge. And I agree, you don't want to start at ground zero with a new engineering company or whatever if you've already got one that's well vested in our business. But at the same time, by taking those requests for proposals off the table, that took out our opportunity to participate, is what I feel.
I agree. I mean, if you recall, I was quite vocal about it during the first meeting, so.
The only thing I've been involved in is the
I know, Dan. That-
and I was also in charge of fundraising, Michael and I. And the figure that's sticking in my mind is 50,000, I think, is what Envision Ellettsville is paid them.
Yeah, Envision Ellettsville got a grant. I can't remember if it was a Ready grant or, but they got a grant for that 50,000 to write the Envision Ellettsville plan. And so then they hired the
We
Taylor.
got a grant for $30,000.
From community, was it not
from
community?
Community Foundation.
Yeah.
And then we needed to raise 25, and Michael and I were in charge of that. And I missed a meeting, and then I was told that, no, we changed that to 35. So,
Well, I know the town did make a donation to the plan. They gave,
town made a nice donation, yeah. And then several of the businesses around town made donations also. I call them the usual suspects, and that's in a very good way, because there's about 3 of them that anytime you go with your hand out, they're gonna give you money. And Smithville, People State Bank and Chandler Funeral. And we've had, Envision Ellettsville's had good relations with them, good luck, and I'm gonna say, I don't know where we're stepping on bounds, but I'd be glad to call them and say, hey, we need to have some conversation here.
Okay, well, if we beat this dead horse, enough.
I got one more question.
I know.
Does the Taylor Group have a time frame? Do we put one on them? Did we?
I'd have to look at the contract, but I couldn't tell you right now, Pat.
They gave us a timeline, and I thought they were gonna start drafting about February, so I think they're right on their schedule.
Because and something to think about, if they have a timeline on that, then that puts us in a bind. Am I correct?
No, it wasn't a timeline in a contract. It was just, because they're doing several things for the town, so they just provided like a schedule of what they think, but in no way is that a concrete schedule. It's just how they thought it would proceed.
Or it
They're
can't
not
bind.
gonna come to you and say, hey, you've only got till this time to do this.
Correct.
Yeah, that's not,
Okay.
It's a
what's
one-way
gonna
deal.
happen.
Okay, any additional comments?
Well, this is exactly why we need a planning commission. This lasted an hour and we didn't have anything on the agenda, so
We're adjourned.
you don't care.